I'm Brandon,
And I'm Brandon.
and welcome back to Apollo City Comics, the unscripted comic book commentary and conversation show. Damn, I nailed that like the best I've done it so far.
First try.
Yeah, took a moment. Brandon, how are you?
I've been all right. A lot of things going on. Beginning my quest to become a teacher. Yeah, so
Good luck with that.
I know, right? I won't see anything for another 3 years because I got to go through all these steps before you can be an official teacher. But that's a different
do
story.
that for student loan forgiveness. Maybe I should go on that route because my loans are insane. Well, guys, we are back for another episode, and make sure to check out our past episodes where we have a new segment called Backlog Breakout, which is now coming out bi-weekly with bi-weekly full episodes like we do, conversations, commentaries, all sorts of random stuff. We have a lot of stuff lined up for you guys coming up, interviews with some great artists and creators, and lots of kind of unique books that we want to start dipping our toes back into because I don't know, Brandon, are you still fried on superheroes? Because I sure as fuck am.
Yeah, I mean, God, dude, like, it's funny. I've been burnt out on superheroes, and I looked at like some more solicitations, and Kamran was texting me about them, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna pick up like 5, 6 books," and I was like, "Dude, I'm about to drop like 3, 4 books." Like,
Yeah.
With that said, I was hyped with Venom.
I finished up King in Black and Venom, and I'm kind of bummed we have to drag it out till June to get that 200th issue.
Yeah, but that's gonna end soon. He's doing another Marvel series. I just don't know what yet. But yeah, I think I'm just reading more independent stuff at the time being.
And I'm actually just catching up on literally my backlog. So
that's right. Yeah,
varies
you're
on a
behind
bunch
like
of
2
stuff.
months.
But 2 months of like monthly issues, and then like all the other crap I own, just like boxes behind. So it's gonna be kind of entertaining. I'm checking out some books right now. So I'm bouncing back and forth between things. When I graduated, I really wanted to read Harry Potter for the first time, since it'd be like a nice like decompression. And I didn't do it right away, but I'm finally starting that journey because of our trip that's coming up. And I'm bouncing like one Harry Potter book, and then I'm doing this Gene Wolfe book, Book of the New Sun, and that is just like such a advanced. Like I literally have to have a dictionary next to me to understand half the words, and it's like, okay, this wasn't really what I was planning to decompress with, but alternating the two has been pretty nice. So, but we got to read a comic for the show. That's what we got to do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to come on here and talk about Mistborn. That's the book I've actually been reading.
Oh, nice.
I've taken forever to finish it. I finished the first one because they're like 600, 700 pages, and I'm not like, because of school, I had to be a really fast reader. But if I'm reading for fun, I don't really stress about it. I'm like halfway through the second book, which is like Well of Ascension or something like that.
Oh, nice.
But I think
maybe
that's
we'll
all I'm
start
reading.
a book club. We'll do a superhero book club. We'll read like Super Gods and like.
Dude, we gotta do that thing where they transcribe comics into novels. Have you seen that?
Oh no, it sounds dope though.
Yeah, I was like, I'm kind of curious how they do this, like how that's written. But I'm just gonna tell you now. You start a book club with me with like novels. We're gonna talk about like one book every 2 years. Okay.
All right, we'll get back to that idea. Well, we're checking out a very interesting book for sure. Spider-Man Reign. This is part of the Marvel Knights line from the early 2000s. And Kaare Andrews does both the art and the writing for it. Or Kaare Andrews. That's interesting.
Kaare. I couldn't tell.
Double A.
Yeah, God, we can never get names down, I swear.
I know.
Well, a quick search on Kaare Andrews is a comic book writer, artist, and filmmaker.
Oh, wow.
His work includes Spider-Man, Iron Fist, Renato Jones, and Incredible Hulk. Andrews has a diverse drawing style with ranges from hyper-realistic to more cartoonesque. And
Did you say Halo Jones?
Renato Jones?
Oh, Renato. Okay, I don't know who that is. Never mind.
And has written some movies. Yeah, so I don't know too much about this creator, honestly.
No, I had no idea actually, and I haven't seen his name on too many books in general. So this was an interesting pick. I've always been very attracted to this book because it's a 4-issue miniseries. Came out in 2006. Interestingly enough, when you look at this book, this is clearly like a callback, homage, love letter to Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns. It is literally like a futuristic Spider-Man with the city just kind of falling apart around him. He's been retired for a few years. He's very broken down, and he hasn't put on the suit for a long time until he gets the big calling that forces him back into the suit. What's interesting about the year it came out is that 2006, and Dark Knight Returns came out in 1986. So it's an anniversary year as well. And dude, it was, DKR is a pretty dense book overall. It's kind of hard to review the whole series at once because it's 4 issues, but there's essentially 2 parts to it. Each part has 2 parts to it. So those 4 issues are very complex, and it goes from like a gritty street crime to like nuclear Holocaust story, like it's very insane. And this one has very similar twists and turns along that path too.
Yeah, well, Spider-Man Reign, I noticed like 2 things, and I did some research on it. And basically, one is kind of like it's a love letter to Dark Knight Returns. Mm-hmm. That's the biggest indicator, at least in terms of like what it's trying to pay an homage to or accomplish, or maybe Kaare Andrews. I'm just gonna say Andrews, because when you write about authors, you just refer to them as their last name.
Yeah.
So Andrews has to have been a fan of Frank Miller. I'm guessing because there's a character literally called Miller Jansen, and that person's named after Frank Miller and Klaus Janson. And also the book is kind of like it's got a lot of themes based around a post 9/11 world.
Yeah.
And that's what I was noticing. And then when I did some research on the book, that's what a lot of people were saying was going on in there as well. So that's kind of like the 2 things going on with this. Basically, is like it's a Dark Knight Returns post 9/11 book.
And I honestly, what did you think of it right off the bat? I'm just very curious.
The first thing I thought, if we're being honest, and I'm reading this on the Kindle. For anybody out there, if you have Prime, that's not like an ad or anything, but I have Amazon Prime, and they kind of have like free random books and comics to read, and it's available on Kindle. So,
wow.
Yeah, I'm reading it on the Kindle Cloud Reader. I read it on my tablet, but for my PC, I'm reading it like on here. I thought it was a very early 2000s book in terms of its art style.
Yes, that's exactly what I thought.
Yeah. I don't know what it was with comics, but like in the 90s, you had the really like bombastic, giant, muscly characters and proportions all whacked out. And then when you got to like 2000s to like 2010s, I don't know what was going on with comic art, but it was like kind of digital, like.
Yep, and that digital age really creeped in, and everyone was trying it out.
But then this book is trying to like, I don't know, show the art style of like Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns at the same time. But like, if you're drawing on like a tablet or a computer.
You're totally right. When you get to some of the newscasters like we will right now, that's where it really starts to pop out like crazy. Yeah, it's that digital style. It's, nothing I've ever really been a big fan of. You could really tell when art was, pretty much all the coloring is done digital now. It's just 1,000 times faster. It's like the one thing you kind of need to do digital at this point in the industry. But,
Photoshop, man.
Photoshop just transformed everything, and like inking, like it's pretty much a by hand thing, and a lot of artists, still ink digitally. But some of my favorite ones, I'll do it by hand, and same with the penciling. But since he did this all himself, pretty much, I think except for the coloring, I want to say Jose Villarrubia did the coloring for it. But I mean, that's a lot of work no matter what, if you're writing and doing those backgrounds and whatnot. But you could very tell they were kind of, I don't know, they were rendered very uniquely.
Yeah. Side note, sorry. This is also the book that first showed Peter Parker's genitals.
Oh my gosh. So we have Bat Wing
but
and Parker Wing.
it's kind of like a full circle thing because, you know, Dark Knight Returns came out, and then this influenced Dark Knight Returns, and then this had a naked Peter Parker, and then, you know, there's a naked Batman in a book. But no, actually, it says right here, in issue number 1, there's a panel known as the nude panel. As the elderly Peter Parker sits on the edge of his bed, for anybody who doesn't know, or spoiler, Peter Parker's like 50, 60 something in this book, sits at the edge of his bed. His genitals were exposed for the first time in the character's history. The issue was soon recalled and removed from the second run of Spider-Man Reign number 1 for the fear of quote-unquote corrupting minors. So that's according to a site called Recalled Comics here on Wikipedia.
You know what sucks is that my copy is a second printing.
Yeah, so the first copy's out there, man. They might have some, you know.
We have to eBay that.
If you go on eBay, here we go, do some research. I'm going to type in Spider-Man Reign.
Number 1 first print.
First print.
Oh, I could even see where they blurred it out too. There's totally a spot where it's like, yeah.
Oh, it's not that expensive apparently.
No. I'll buy it.
Spider-Man Reign number 1 first print, black costume variant, $20.
Hey, man, it's cheaper than Batman Damned, so.
$80 for some. So.
Time to go through some long boxes and some comic book shops and see what they got under there.
Hey, you guys got the first print of this? Why do you need it so badly? You don't understand.
I need to see Spidey's Wang when he's 50 years old.
But yeah, that's I was gonna say before we dive in, that's pretty much all about this book that I could like pick at from the most part at face value and what I like find online, you know.
Yeah, it's funny. This book came into my way through one of the main guys I buy comics from on Instagram called TZ Toys, and his shop is open right now. So there's always some cool finds and great runs there. I got that full Chip Zdarsky Daredevil run off of him for an amazing price. So check that out for sure. But diving into the book, so I mean, it's very, you know, we kind of have that whole, I forget what it's called. You're going to know right off the top of your head. You know, the book is kind of based off of a nursery rhyme right off the beginning, and it kind of circles back to it each time. And it's kind of the lesson to be learned throughout the story. And it's the whole itsy bitsy spider thing and how he got kind of washed out. And it shows us the world we're in right now, where it looks like you can't really do much. You're under government control. There's these kids spray painting, where did you go? Because apparently Spider-Man's been gone for a long time. Costumes have been gone out of New York City for a very long time. And that's what I think is kind of weird too. You know, Spider-Man does exist in like New York City, where there are dozens and dozens of superheroes, and he's like the only one left at this point. It seems like no one else is there in the city at all. And you find, you know, you see Parker at like, I guess it's like a florist shop, I want to say, and he messed up an order, and the guy, his boss just fires him right away. You know, he still has that same Peter Parker look. He has the glasses, he has like a little sweater vest and a bow tie and like a button-up shirt under it. And he seems so weak and fragile. And once you realize it's Peter, like, it kind of breaks your heart. And the kids that were like getting hassled by these authoritative figures earlier, they bump into Peter and he drops these flowers he had in his hands. And he's talking about like how down and out he is, you know, no money, no job, no dignity. And he's like, just like old times, but like, it's not the same anymore because his bones are aching. And like these, I don't know, these like authoritative figures kind of look kind of funny to me because they have like the purple henchman like ski masks on. It kind of like reminds me of Baron Zemo or something.
After just watching Falcon and Winter Soldier,
right? Yeah, and it's like it's such good timing for that type of stuff. But Parker, dude, he gets his like face smashed in, like his nose breaks, his glasses are broken, he's all beat up, and these guys are just chasing these kids, and one of them just like looks at Peter and just like, how can you one of them gets taken, and the one that's left over is just like, wow, how could you let them take him? Like, how could you? There's no one out here to help us, like nobody anymore. And the kid's brokenhearted. And then you got a Nissan commercial. But
Oh,
here
I don't get any ads on the Kindle one.
got the classic books, physicals. It's the total. This is where it really kicks in. It's like at first, it's like, okay, this is an older Peter Parker story.
Yeah.
But once you get to the newscasters, you're like, oh, that's Frank Miller.
Yeah, this is Frank Miller, 100%. I was gonna say, so we were talking about how like this book is kind of like a lot of things going on, right? Do you like how you see that like the city behind the newscaster of like New York? Are those supposed to be kind of like the Twin Towers, or no? Or is it me? They kind of look like them, right?
The ones that are kind of just like shifted in the very middle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was assuming too. But you also it's just the Empire State Building.
Is it? I can't tell.
Because when you pull back on the second page, where it's like the girl right after the explosion panel, what it looks like, from the computer simulation, the one below it.
That's what it. Okay, yeah.
That is Empire State Building. Okay,
because when I'm looking at it on the computer, you get this one page, and then when you turn, it zooms out.
But you're right; it does look like it, especially at first, because it looks like two separate buildings on that first page. I do love how they did the static of the TV on the first two panels. I always think that's fascinating how they mess with that.
That's something you could definitely accomplish with like digital artwork.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure you could do it by hand, but it could be a very long process.
Yeah, we need like it would look like paint rollers in a sense going over it. But that's super cool, and this is where it just turns super Dark Knight Returns. And even this newscaster, he what's his name? Yeah, he's
Miller Jansen.
Miller Jansen, yeah. And this is the Daily Bugle News or Network or something like that. And he looks like what's his name? Jimmy Olsen.
Oh, he does look like Jimmy Olsen.
Dude,
with the bow tie.
Yeah, exactly.
I was gonna say I only bring that up because I didn't really notice it until reading about the book after, but it's I wanted to see when looking back at it if there's anything we might have missed. That's because again, it's a book that's on record about a post 9/11 world. So I was just curious if there's some like I guess more indicators of that in the book the second time around.
I guess it would have just been like the security they want to enforce and how to protect everybody. And, by creating that grid that they were talking about in this news channel. And that's this mayor's whole mission is to create this like dome around New York City
to protect it
from any attacks whatsoever. But that also means that no one can go in or out. Which like, can a mayor even do that?
I don't think a mayor could do that, honestly. Right? It doesn't really explain it. It's just kind of like I'd imagine he would have to, or he or she, they would have to go through many steps before they could put a giant barrier around a city.
Yeah, right. And then we're like switched over to this. You're in this one of these really tall buildings. It's clearly like a corporate type of thing, and they are just spoon feeding this bizarre, just like melted down guy, and you're kind of using him as kind of a trophy in that sense. Do you know who this is off the top of your head for just like first glance?
No idea.
I would have no idea either. And like the way he looks all wrinkled and just, it's gross. It's grotesque. Like look at that neck at the bottom of the first panel. Like it stretches on for so long. He has like 3 chins, and then he has like those, like it's going around his rib cage and still draping down. It's so creepy. I have a Ghost Rider video game ad right here.
The Ghost Rider video game ad. These are some
out.
very abrupt ads in a very serious book.
Yeah, right? Well, and I mean, this is where it gets really serious and like heartbreaking. Peter walks back into his apartment and he tries to put in the busted up flowers into like a little jar of water. And he's saying like, I brought flowers, like I'm looking for a new job tomorrow. He told his boss that he was through. He's like, I know it's tight, but it's going to be okay. And then he just explodes and he's like, say something. And you see Mary Jane sitting at the opposite end of the table. And he just freezes and says, I'm sorry. And just kind of like just drifts off to the window. And you're like, okay, what's up with Mary Jane? Like, why is she just so quiet and fragile and silent? And like, you obviously know that there's something extreme going on with Peter. We switch over, and then another newscast report because it's Frank Miller homage, and we go into another elderly guy who's harassing this authoritative figure, and basically just kind of get blown off by him. Ooh, another ad. And you're kind of wondering who that is because he has a package under his arm. And Peter's having a dream, and it's him and Mary Jane, and still we don't see Mary Jane's face, and that's like triggering something right there. It's a white background. You could tell it's a dream because of that very bright, switch in tone and colors, and they're kissing, and he kind of sits up, and he even says it's been so long. So maybe you think that Mary Jane's sick or she can't do anything, but then the next panel, you realize that there's no one in the bed with him, and it just hurts. And this is actually where his penis is supposed to be.
Yeah, you can see it actually censored.
Yeah, exactly. Just like kind of blurred out a little bit. And he's just drenched in sweat, and he's like freaking out. And apparently someone's at the door, and you find out it's very clear right away. What a good use of a full page splash. That type of revelation. Like you finally see the old guy that we just saw a few pages ago, with the package under his arm, and it's clearly J. Jonah Jameson. And it kind of makes you wonder, like, if Peter's this old, how old is JJ at this point? Like,
he's got to be at least like 80s to 90s, because Peter looks pretty old already.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, like it's ancient. You know what I mean? Like he's using a walker and all that type of stuff. And he's just trying to be super nice to Peter, and it's very odd, very very odd. And Peter just tells him to kind of fuck off in a sense. Like, I'm not gonna. He just closes the door on him, and Peter ignores him, falls to his knees, and he's just like, "I have a package for you. Like, open it up. I've been holding it for a very long time." And JJ walks away, and at the same time, we're seeing Peter open up the package, and JJ just starts arguing with those authoritative figures outside of the apartment, and he starts up a fight. And that's where, like, Peter, we find out there's a camera in it. And the camera is a key thing because that's, Peter's thing at the Bugle. But you also see a black piece of cloth kind of dangle in there. And that's a good little hint on what's going to happen. And as JJ's freaking out when he's fighting these huge, bulky guys, I love the panel layout over here where you see through the eyes of the Spidey mask. Like,
it's pretty awesome.
It's super cool. And the middle is just split down, and it's just JJ getting beat up, and it gets really insane. Like after that, this is a 90-year-old man getting beat, which I mean we've seen on national television happen in riots already, so not too far of a stretch from the truth, to be honest. There is a Above the Influence ad here, which is kind of funny because it's this funny marijuana leaf, and trying to get out of it, it's a maze. Very random.
The ads.
Oh dude, iHome, when you would plug in your iPod to like speaker systems.
Oh yeah, you had the dock.
Yeah, the docks. Yeah, but so Peter comes out and he has the black mask on. Other than that, he's just in like boxers and socks, which is kind of odd. I don't know how I felt about that, but
I was confused why his socks were so long.
Right, like who has like really like limpy socks that just like go 2 inches past your like toes and whatnot,
Yeah,
I guess they look like pantyhose that have been draped down, you know what I mean, or like elf shoes. But I mean I feel like the art really does work out for the first issue. Some of until you get to like this point, it kind of all makes sense, but the whole sock thing, that's like the first part where I kind of draw the line where I'm like, all right, is this supposed to like represent the motions that he's going through in the air? Because now he's full on Spider-Man.
Because they curl up and kind of look like I don't know what they look like, but the socks. If you go to the page, so the full page splash where you get Spider-Man like coming down with the mask on. If you go to the next page, the second panel, look at the way the socks curl.
Yeah, they like roll and everything. And then even the other one, they look like ribbons at the end of his feet. I don't see the point of that.
I don't know. I think it's just part of the art style. Again, something about the two, like from like 1989 to like 2011, art was just really like, I don't know, as inconsistent as it can get with comic books.
Yeah. And I think it, again, with this one, it does matter that it was digital because of how how loose it was. You know what I mean? Just it just it feels more 3D than like a book, like a 2D book. You know. But you know, he's a full on Spider-Man, and it's funny when he puts on the mask, he's no longer Peter Parker. You see that switch in his attitude. He's making jokes, but in his inner monologue, he's even saying like, "I can't take it. My ears can't take it." And he's like, "I need to stop the noise," so I stopped listening. And now he's just kind of just running on autopilot. And now he's having a flashback to where he's like in his red and blue suit. And he basically like just flashes back to the guy that killed Uncle Ben, talking to Aunt May as a kid, talking to I was gonna say Jean Grey, to Mary Jane as an adult. And then this is the creepy part, that third panel, like with Uncle Ben, dude, he has like his brains blown out, and he's like in the black suit, and now he's in his new iteration with it just like kind of a naked old man in boxers talking to
it's
JJ.
like that. It's like an inverted version of the that Fantastic Four one he had, where since they don't wear any masks, he put the
bag on.
Yeah. except it's just the mask this time.
And
I was gonna say,
sorry.
I was gonna say about this page where he's like talking to different people. There's one thing about this book that the first issue, you know, utilizes really well, that is consistent throughout the book, and is the way the gutter is used and negative space. So if you pay attention to a lot of comics, typically the gutter, you know, between panels is like some sort of, it's usually black or some sort of darker color. It could be white as well. It could really be any color, but it's typically black or white, you know, to separate the panels. But what I've noticed with this book is that the negative space is used a lot for, I guess you want to say, pacing and kind of like breathing time. So, you know, there's a lot of panels that, you know, there's a lot of panel density where there's multiple panels in a page. And what he does in those panels is there's a lot of silence where there's no dialogue. There might be some inner monologuing, but there's no dialogue. And even if there is dialogue, the all white backgrounds, that limbo kind of look, it kind of like makes you focus on what's at the center of the panel and take more time to take it in. So for instance, this page right here where, you know, he's talking to Aunt May, Mary Jane, and all that, I feel like personally the use of negative space makes you focus on them a lot more and kind of take more time with the page.
Well, that too, and you know what you're saying about the center of the center being the focus. When you look at the first page of it, you know, it's a full panel, and you see the classic Spidey suit, and he's hovering over the guy that killed Uncle Ben. The second panel, it's the guy getting thrown off, and he's leaning more towards the center of the page. The third panel, it's empty in the middle, where it's split, so it shows like that distance between Spidey and the cop. And then again, you have like that Joker 1989 scene where he just lands at the bottom. But also on the next page, when he's talking to each person, look how close their hands are, and look how much more distant he becomes from each person as he grows up.
He's like more disconnected.
Exactly. Yeah, he's holding Aunt May's. Him and Mary Jane's are just touching fingertips. Him and Uncle Ben aren't even touching, but they're still in the frame. And then him and JJ, it's just white space. It just shows how disconnected and how distant he is from himself, from what he was and what he's turned into now. And that's a great representation of showing of how Peter's changed over the years.
Yeah. It's like storytelling without any dialogue or anything. You know,
it's really showing
visual cues. Yeah, character development through visual cues. And I think that's like, honestly, from an artistic standpoint, I think that's what this book does best. It does look, I'm not going to sit here and say the art is the best. I'll be honest. Typically, a lot of books we read, I'll be like, yeah, the art is amazing, you know, but you know, I think the art is just okay, but Andrews, I guess, craft is really at the forefront here more than anything.
Oh yeah, I can see that for sure. There's some key moments where this happens too, and that's why it's so hard to like. It's an odd balance of it, you know. You can't really rack on it, but you can't really accept it at the same time. Well, it's it wraps up by him just like slugging JJ in the face, because pretty much like JJ's known forever, and he's just been trying to say the truth and basically apologizing to Peter for everything he did, but also saying he doesn't regret any of it. And Peter just punches this 90-year-old man in the face, and I think that's just
with that
crazy.
Spider-Man strength.
Yes, dude. Well, old man showed me. Yeah.
All right. Sorry, I got to take my cat's bell off because she jumped on my lap. Sorry, everybody. If you've listened before, she's been around. Sorry. All right. Back to it. Issue 2.
So now, like, people are rallying together. JJ's kind of put, like, an organization. He's bringing newsprint back, and it's banned. So those who are taking the newspapers are also becoming criminals by helping them. But he's trying to spread the word again to wake everybody up. And you go back into this, like, really sinister kind of business corporate-looking office. And you know what? I wish, I don't know, we'd have to straight up pause and do some research, but the paintings on the side here, I wonder what paintings they are, because I'm sure they mean something.
They have to be. I mean, you know what's funny too is this is where the digital art is really showing, because it's totally like a copy and paste.
Yes, yeah, right? You can tell it's cropped and everything.
Yeah, like, that's not a bad thing either. If
no. It's a mixed media
like,
thing.
I imagine... You know, if anyone knows out there what the paintings are, let us know. But I imagine the paintings are supposed to coincide with this, like, big industry. And typically when you, like, look at corporate offices in any sort of medium, there's always some sort of, like, Renaissance painting or some sort of, like, decor that shows that they're the upper class or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And, you know, it could be a mixture of those going on, really.
For sure, 100%. And it's basically these guys are putting together like a new Sinister Six and bringing them back. And they're kind of really upset that there's a Spider-Man back, because it's like, we've worked so hard. They can't like let this wreck their plans and whatnot. Yet we don't know what their plans are yet.
Yeah. And this is, sorry, rant coming, but this is my only thing with Spider-Man. And I love Spider-Man. You know this.
Yeah.
Why do they always treat Spider-Man like he's the only superhero in New York, only because he's like this weird anomaly that's just so popular? Like the Spider-Man video games, the Spider-Man comics, and like, you know, it's just the movies. Well, that's a whole different story because of copyright issues. But like, it's always out of New York. The only guy that's available is Spider-Man.
It trips me out because, like I said, there's dozens and dozens of heroes around here. Like Luke Cage, Iron Fist is like in New York. The Avengers have a base there.
Daredevil
is in Hell's Kitchen. Like, why don't we see Fantastic Four is there? Like, why don't we see like? I do know what you mean. Like, I love stories like this because it can do a lot with it, but it's missing so much. Like, at least give us everyone left because of, or everyone's arrested or something.
Yeah,
you know
just say like superheroes were sent to another planet or something. I don't know. Like, it's fine. The story's fine still. It's just like this weird continuity thing, right? Like Spider-Man's this anomaly where he's the only hero available every single time. And at least like with Batman or something, I hate to make the comparison, but at least Batman's like, you know, everybody stay out of my city, you know?
Yeah. No, there's that. And even in Dark Knight Returns, they're like, there was a law that passed and everyone had to put away everything and everyone did it. But you gave him hell, Bruce, you know, you and Ollie.
Yeah.
And that's why Ollie's missing an arm. Like, it's just, there's an explanation. And the fact that everyone did it because Superman was the one enforcing it, it's like, no one's going to fuck with that. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things. Like, if they had like Hyperion or someone or Sentry being like, yeah, that's why there's no capes in around. It's like, okay, that makes sense. Like Hyperion,
literally just like one or two like sentences being like, yeah, you know, superheroes are, I don't know, they've disappeared.
Yeah, like I would still expect to see Daredevil play the Oliver Green, what's his name?
Oliver Queen.
Oliver Green.
Yeah,
Oliver Queen role. Yeah.
Shit, if like a mayor of New York was trying to not let anybody leave in or out, I could see like Kingpin or even Doctor Doom getting involved. Of like, no one does that to the city or something. I don't know.
Yeah, something like that. Like, it's just one of those things.
Yeah,
but I know what you mean. 100%. I was on the same page with that. Like, it's like a great homage, but it's missing like elements that help make DKR great. And I bet if they added a page or two of some of those elements, it could have made this one make just as much sense. I would have loved to see an old man Daredevil like this. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, dude, old man Daredevil, or like, I don't know. like some of the X-Men are still like kind of lounging around.
Yeah,
or something.
exactly. Like there was a lot they could have done, but I guess they try to keep it a very grounded Peter Parker story, like
concentrated on one character. I get it.
Yeah,
and
which
that's the thing with.
I don't know what was that.
I was gonna say that's the thing with comics. You can do what you want.
Exactly what I was gonna say.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I'm all worked up now thinking about it.
Well, and it's and this whole issue is really just like we're in Act 2 now. You know what I mean? We're explaining the events that are going to lead to the final confrontation, and it's explaining more with the kids, basically that they're all rallying together, creating like a little mini army, and they're realizing that JJ brought them together in a church. And that's where they're going to like have a hideout because of a bell. And once you realize that, you realize who the villain is. But with Peter's end, he's just having a mental like breakdown. He's packing his things. He's yelling at Mary Jane saying like, why aren't you packing? I don't know what things you want to take. What are you waiting for? Like, it's not the same here anymore. We got to go. And he just starts shaving again for some reason, which cool callback to Dark Knight Returns. Because remember, like even Alfred's like, Master Bruce, you shaved, and he like touches his face. He's like, "Oh fuck, I didn't even realize I shaved." Because
I got rid of that mustache.
Yeah, that side of him took over, and I think that's kind of what's happening to Peter right now too. And okay, so we're at the bell scene. Basically, JJ's preaching to all these like people and kids, saying like, "There's hope, and we got to reveal the truth." And cool elements there, and I like how they're meeting up in the church, and the bell is like what they worship.
I think I could be wrong. I wasn't really reading comics a whole lot in 2006, but I think J. Jonah Jameson was the mayor of New York in the main 616 universe, if I'm correct, at this time.
I wouldn't be surprised with some of the Dan Slott stuff, right?
Yeah, or
was it Straczynski?
John Michael Straczynski. Because I think he's just started being more involved in general,
Mm-hmm. We had a big role in the Superior Spider-Man stuff. That's when you realize stuff.
Let's see. Well, if I just got a list of New York mayors, but let me see. Published 2009. Okay, so he was mayor in 2009 of New York.
Oh, okay. So it was a little bit after this, which, I mean, this could have got like a spark for that, knowing he could lead and rally and the power he has because he was the voice of a newspaper. Yeah.
I was just curious because, like, I feel like he's a character. He's always been a big part of the Spider-Man mythos, right? But, like, I think he was just getting more, like, coverage in the comics at some point.
Mm-hmm. So this is kind of funny. All right. So also what's happening in the background too is that there's word out that there's a masked man out like defending people, and it shows a picture of, Peter with the mask on. He's all shirtless and old man like. And so, oh wow, this is funny. This bar is called Pete's PvP. There's some other background stuff that I noticed the first time. I don't think it's happened yet, but some of these like names and everything will start popping up. But there is a superhero that is back.
The Hypno Hustler?
Yeah, the Hypno Hustler. I've never heard of this character at all. Like,
there's so much stuff in comic history. Oh my god, that is a real character.
Really?
Yep. Spectacular Spider-Man number 24, 1978 of November 1978.
The Hypno Hustler.
Oh my god, I had no idea.
Well, it's funny because it's like a 3-page thing, and then
he gets killed.
He gets killed? Okay, I can tell. Yeah, straight up shot down. But what a cool thing. Like it says, but today, just like the man in the white suit, the batteries, his boombox are past their prime. As the music dies, the disco ball drops. The crazy old man grabs my shoulder, makes me watch. We all do. We watch. And they just see the murder of this guy in front of everyone. So much like today. It's crazy. And of course it would be the black dude. So, I mean, it's just straight up like, again, another comic that's like to the T what we see and what changes things and what like starts like big movements, because after that, that's when everyone really starts to rally together, because there was a guy
just comic books reflecting reality. Or
and it's,
I was saying comic books reflecting reality again.
yeah, it's insane. Like, and you know, Peter is seeing all this happen right outside his window, and he's trying to get Mary Jane to pack her things, and all of a sudden, because of like the revolution going on outside, that's the first time we see Mary Jane's lips, and or the second time, but they form a smile, and all of a sudden, like, you know, because of the bomb, it was a bazooka that shot the apartment, right? Yeah. It goes off, and everything, you know, I love the white space here because it's very dreamlike. You're very lost to what just happened. It's very chaotic in that sense. It's kind of like a paused moment in all this chaos before things really start to come down, and something hits Peter, and by the time he's out of it, he's in his black suit. Like he's the
having fun as Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm. And I love, you know, that they start off with the black suit, because it just shows where he's coming from, a dark place, just like a lost spot. And he's like not really the Peter that you expect him to be right off the bat. But he goes in and he starts defending everybody. And honestly, I love how he looks in the black suit, especially that full page splash where it's like him midair, and then you see this army of people.
I think that's a homage to Dark Knight Returns right there with the lightning strike and everything.
Right.
Too.
I could see that for sure. That
and
totally makes sense.
He's facing the opposite direction. So if you put the two pictures next to each other, they'd be going towards each other. So I'm pretty sure that was done on purpose.
Yeah, that had to have been. Yeah.
And you know, it's interesting because I didn't even hear about this book until you told me. So I'm surprised this didn't get more like
attention.
Famous.
Yeah,
or
right.
Attention.
That's what throws me off too, because it's a great like way to represent Peter's future.
Yeah, it's a redemption arc. It's clearly political.
Yes.
It's like there's a lot going on, and it's a little shocking, honestly. No one talks about it.
Yeah, it's I don't hear this one in the circles as much as you'd imagine. Like there's other Marvel Knight books that really overshadow this one. Oh, and then the Sinister Six comes back, and of course it's Kraven. We have Scorpion, and we have Electro. Sandman's a part of this too, and it is like some of the most brutal stuff. I love the fights we see going on. Kraven already is attacking Spider-Man like crazy. He unmasks him. He's ready to kill him, and he's kind of already down and out until these metal arms come out of nowhere and start just like pulling the Sinister Six away from, because clearly, you know, Peter's just came back. He's not at power. He's not at full strength. He's like coming and reacting to the moment. Yeah, out of practice. He's just reacting at this time. And so these metal arms come out, and dude, again, the full page splash uses in this book are remarkable.
You know, I wasn't too big of a fan of the art, but I gotta say, like, the splash pages are pretty ridiculous.
Dope, dude. Like the tentacles above the moon and the way they stretch out, like the dangling Doc Ock body, like,
yeah. The only thing is, how's he in the middle of the air? Did he just leap out of there?
Right? Yeah, like just like a launch, pretty much, you know. Obviously one of the kids we've been following this entire time has passed away. They died in the riot, but the one of the other children that were there sees it and is just like, is realizing what is all happening and what it all means. On the final page, we just see battered, beat up, like maskless Peter Parker on the ground, and Doc Ock's arms are just digging around the ground around him, and he realizes he's right in front of Mary Jane's grave. And obviously, like, you know, we knew something was going on, but this was the confirmation that Mary Jane's dead, has been dead.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a clear indication, but they kind of hint at it, but that's pretty much the, you know.
There's a very clear indication on why she died. And it's like, I told it to my girlfriend and she gave me a whole argument about it. And it's kind of funny. We'll get to it right now. But I mean, that's cool. That's just the first two issues. That's like him showing him where he is in the present day. The turning point of J. Jonah Jameson coming up to confront him. Peter kind of accepting that he does need to act because of the revolutionary stuff going on outside. And then you have, him going out, attacking and seeming victorious, but then still being too weak to like actually battle. And he has like a saving grace to come pull him out. And here he's kind of down and out, but he's going to have to build himself back up at this point. Issue 3 starts off with Peter just crying, just bawling it at the graves of Mary Jane, Ben, and Aunt May. And meanwhile, J. Jonah Jameson is taken up to that big corporate building where you're just like, who are these people? Like, we keep going back to them. They're clearly behind all this. It's like the mayor's assistant. The grid has been activated. So now New York City is now covered. And it's just like, okay, something's about to go on here. Mm-hmm. But JJ knows the truth, and that's the cool part. What are you say?
I was gonna say, I think it's also ironic that the grid is like the giant web,
Yeah,
the whole
exactly.
Spider-Man web thing. And
yes, it totally. It's a good like little mock of what he represents and everything.
Yeah, the web is supposed to protect the city. This is like a literal web, and then Spider-Man's like a spider, the metaphorical web. Mm-hmm. And the web traps things actually instead of actually protecting them, because the spider's web traps insects. There's all that stuff going on basically.
And this is where things kick off, dude. Like, JJ knows the truth. He's just like, all right, I'm here. And he gets the knife and he stabs this guy in the throat, being like, I know who you are. And then he realized he stabbed the wrong guy. But then I forgot who the other villain is, what his name is. Like, it's something. But then JJ gets the knife and just stabs this guy in the chest. And that's where you see the black ink just.
And then immediately, if you read anything Spider-Man, you see that black ink, you know exactly what it is.
Yes. And before we get to that part, dude, straight up, one of my favorite pages in this book is this other full page splash. I swear to God, they're so good in this book. And they're used so well. Like, every book has like one or two full page splashes, and everyone is just knocked out of the park. But this one, where you see Doc Ock's dead, decomposed body, and his arms are just like wrangling around him, and he pulls out Mary Jane's grave, and Mary Jane,
and you see her corpse like falling down and everything.
Yes, and Peter's just watching it all, and dude, even the look in the glasses that Doc Ock has, it is so creepy. It's so bizarre. I've never. It's just such a good iteration of this villain. Ghost Rider video game ad. And then
Ghost Rider video, is that the one when the Nicolas Cage movie came out?
Yes, yeah.
Oh my God.
Story. Oh dude, I want to play this. We got to find a way to get a copy of this. What is story from comic masterminds Garth Ennis and Jimmy Palamoni.
What is that?
Yeah, Ghost Rider the video game.
Oh wait, the one for like PS2 and all that, right?
It's for Game Boy Advance, and it just says PlayStation, so PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, I'm assuming.
Yeah, that was the game that played like God of War, if I'm correct.
Oh, it looks like it.
I remember it's not that great. It's like okay, it plays like PS2 God of War.
Oh, obviously. Okay, all right.
Yeah, you have like the chains. I think, do those have a name?
I don't know much about Ghost Rider.
Well, basically, long story short, it's kind of like the God of War Chains of Chaos thing. Mm-hmm. But anywho, it's pretty cool. It's like, check it out. Not the greatest game ever, but it's fun.
I'll play it for nostalgic reasons. And
exactly.
That. But this is where you get the backstory on what happened between Peter and MJ. Was that she was sick. She was getting really sick, and it's really sweet because, Peter just wants to be there with her, and he knows that there's like sirens going on, and he's in the hospital just trying to watch over her, and he hears police cars, gunshots, and he's like, no, someone's dying. And then she's even whispering under her breath saying like, go, like, just go help him. And Peter's just like, I'll be back. I'll bring fresh flowers when I come back. And when he leaves, that's the last time he gets to see her. And you realize that she had been poisoned with radioactivity and slowly became riddled with cancer.
Because of him, basically.
Yeah, he's filled with radioactive blood, and not just blood, but every fluid. And this is why you wear condoms.
And that's oh my god. Oh my god.
This is straight up a condom commercial in a Marvel comic. But dude, she's, I guess they try to have kids, they're having sex, and she got poisoned with radioactivity, man. Like, he got bit by a radioactive spider. Like, she died because of Peter at like such a young age, because clearly they were still young at that point, and he is just destroyed over it. Like, he killed, just like Gwen Stacy, MJ died because of him, And then there's this really trippy fucking horror moment where she like comes to life and her tongue's out and she like bites Peter's lip and rips it off, but it's not really happening. It's just like him freaking out, and Doc Ock is dragging her body away. I don't know. Some of this didn't really make sense because like I think that's all that happens from it.
It's like in his head, but not at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm gonna just fast forward a lot of this right here, but I'm going to see what happens to him, because we don't see Peter again in this issue till the very end, I don't think. No, yeah, exactly. Okay, so pretty much after that, like, MJ's body's been dragged away, and we won't see Peter till the end of this issue. But in the background, like, people are rallying, the news reports are still going on, just updating the progress of the web and what's happening and the riots going on. And at the same time, Venom is slowly like just coming out of his shell and showing himself for the first time. And even JJ's like, you've changed. Like, I love Venom's character in this book, because it totally, his motivations make a good amount of sense. Like, his approach makes sense. Like, he like hid away and she was changing and growing, and he's had a plan this whole entire time.
It's time for phase 2.
Yeah. And at the same time, like, while phase 2 is going on, what's happening is that I guess Venom got other symbiotes from a planet and started collecting them and bringing them to Earth. And now as the city is in lockdown, again, kind of weird, it's full on lockdown. You can't go in and out. And everyone starts getting infected with symbiotes from different, from whatever planet, and it's infecting and killing everyone and overtaking everyone. And even these, like, the army's like, what the fuck, I had no idea this was going to happen, and they're meant to like stand ground and protect. And there's like this awesome creepy symbiote like teeth, like just kind of just ravaging through the city, and Peter starts seeing all this in the background, and he just like crawls into the coffin. And he's just like, I've put it off long enough, I'm going home. And he crawls into a coffin, which is super creepy. But Venom kind of just starts showing his face, and it's taking over everything. But the one little girl from the beginning realizes, like, we were here for a reason in this church. Like, the bell is there for a reason. And she starts banging on it to rally people. And she realizes that that's like Venom's weakness, is the sonics. Yeah. And everyone's getting called towards it. Peter's in the coffin, and he's just like crying, and he's trying to face what he needs to, and he knows he has to get up. And when he comes out of the coffin, I love that fist crash, and it just breaks through the wood, and then he's in the classic red and blue costume. And then you turn the page again, full page splash, Venom reveal. Not crazy about the design. He has like
the Venom design.
Yeah, that juggernaut head. I don't get that.
Yeah, again, art in the 2000s.
Right, like just kind of overdone in that sense.
The other thing that's confusing is that like Spider-Man's costume was in the casket.
Well, I understood it as in like when Mary Jane died, that's when Spider-Man was done.
Buried the suit with her.
That was it. Like,
I can kind of see that, yeah. I don't know. I saw that and I was like, huh, okay. Was he just keeping it there? I mean, it makes sense, but I guess it's supposed to be a clear indicator.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's one of those things. It's kind of like just, you assume that's like the purpose or reason behind it. Poetic through the art, I guess, assumptions type of thing.
Yeah,
right? So. Yeah, it's like, yeah, I guess, I know what you mean there. Well, I mean, it's the final issue 4, and it's like the big climactic battle. Spidey's gonna go invade the building where everything is coming from. The Sinister Six are held up inside, and that includes Mysterio as well. I think this is the first time we've seen Mysterio with them. And Venom is just like this huge, monstrous, like kind of mini kaiju looking monster,
Yeah, if you look at the page where it's like his full body, I don't know. This is where the art starts falling apart a little.
Yeah, no, totally agree. Like I'm not too crazy on the Venom. I like certain Venom outfits and appearances, but not all of them work. Like Eric Larson. I'm sorry, I didn't take the Eric Larson Venom.
I think also, if we're being honest, like we're fresh off of like King in Black and that entire run,
it's
like
fucking dopest Venom.
Yeah,
ever,
was like,
you know, like
that shit was sick, dude. Like,
honestly, you can't. There's no other way to put that.
Yeah, like it's just like after that, you're like everything before it, you're just like,
yeah, fuck out of here.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's just like I don't know. Shout out to Danny's website, thirdplanet.news. If you want to check out my mini comic reviews, I just go crazy over Donny Cates Venom. So
hell yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this issue, the riots are going on, and the little girl that's been leading everyone, she's right at the forefront, and you kind of assume she's been an orphan this whole time. It's kind of insinuated at the beginning. I think it's her and her brother, or maybe it's just her friend, the one that passed away earlier. But she takes off like the mask she's been wearing, because everyone's wearing masks because masks were outlawed, so they want to cover their faces and rebel. And she takes it off, and Sandman is leading the forefront of everyone outside the main building. And then Sandman realizes, like, oh man, that's my daughter. And he doesn't even tell them to shoot. And they just start shooting. And Sandman freaks out, saying to hold their fire. And they end up shooting her a few times. And the bullets are going right through her because she also has that power. And he's trying to get her to learn how to use it right away, to be like, it's okay, I've got you, like you're gonna be fine, like I'm here, I'm finally here, I'm your dad. And it really doesn't fruition that way. But meanwhile, I do love the back and forth stuff. It does work. I think the pacing worked out really well in this book. I'm not gonna lie, none of it feels like too interrupted. Everything's kind of like a good cliffhanger.
I was gonna say, again, with the art, it's inconsistent. There's times it's really fucking dope, and then there's times it's like really ugly. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, like I was talking about, he knows the craft. You know, he understands the craft, and I stand by that. Like, the book is 140 pages, and I read it on 2 lunch breaks. You know, like just, you know, back and forth, just go like page after page. You know, and I think that's attributed to the writing and the paneling, honestly.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And the paneling layouts, all of it, they work so well. Like the pacing, you don't fall off track of the story at all. Like it really does work. Full page splashes. Every time they do it, it's like dazzling, you know? Even this one where he kicks in the window and you have Electro like getting kicked in the face, like just the energy that's going on there. And again, you could tell it's digital art because of the shading and the layouts of the electricity and all that, but it does feel very in your face and Spider-Man at this point. Like this is like high-five fun, you know?
Oh yeah. It's aware of its, like, you know, of itself.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And of course, Spidey tricks Electro and Hydro Man, which once again proves, you know, Electro's with Hydro Man, and Electro spoots out electricity and Hydro Man's water. So it again proves why Hydro Man's the stupidest villain ever. The guy has never served a point for anything.
Oh my god! Side note, when I looked up Hypno Hustler, he was a villain actually originally.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I have it right here.
Bunch of redemption stories in this.
Hypno Hustler first appeared in Spectacular Spider-Man number 24. Powers and abilities. Hypno Hustler can perform hypnosis with the aid of his guitar, and when teamed up with a backup band, the Mercy Killers, can perform mass hypnosis. His boots can emit knockout gas on demand and have retractable knives in the soles.
If he was like the Hypno Hustler, I'd imagine him playing bass.
Yeah.
It's more of a funk instrument, you know, a disco instrument. You know?
Yeah, it was what, the 70s?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe he plays multiple things, you know?
Yeah, right.
I don't know. Maybe he can play multiple instruments. I don't know. Like, but anyways, that's the Hypno Hustler right there.
That's our fun fact today. Our back history. The Scorpion fight I thought was pretty cool. I do like the use of the tail, and I kind of dig the outfit, how they still incorporated that vest onto him that everyone else is wearing. But Spidey just beats his ass in a second and straight up
Kicks him
kills.
out. Kicks him
Dude.
out of a building.
And it's so crazy. He's like the old man suddenly looks 3 years old, crying for his mommy. Almost feel sorry for the guy. Almost. Like it has a pause panel, an empty blank panel, and then it goes back to
Almost.
his eyes and says almost. Like
That is,
Damn.
and that is Frank Miller writing right there. The whole
Yeah.
like
Yes.
monologuing and just like very like gritty kind of like, I don't know, cowboy-esque kind of thing.
Well, dude, again, right here when he's fighting Mysterio, Mysterio turns into Mary Jane for a second, and trying to trick him and mess with his head, saying like, "I never loved you. You're nothing but a." And then he's just like, "Shut your trap up," and then it just like blurs out the word. I'm assuming it says "bitch." So I mean, I don't know, but that's totally a Frank Miller. Like, I'm gonna make my superhero cuss. Like, that's 100% him.
Yeah,
I'm the
and that
goddamn
same
Batman.
pose, that punch right there, that punch is in so many Daredevil comics.
Oh yeah, straight up, huh? Yeah.
And like Batman as well.
Oh, dude. And then Spidey walking away from Mysterio. Some advice not to dress up like a dead man's or like a man's dead wife unless he pays you to. What? Like, damn, Spidey. Like, it's Frank Miller going overboard. But
It's Frank Miller overboard.
So he goes back to Sandman. His daughter's dying in his arms, and he's just getting pissed and fighting everybody off, and he just wants to be alone with her. Mysterio used like some fear gas type of thing, and he was breathing it in, and then no, this is what Craven does. He like inhales like this like smoke so that they could both be like facing what they fear the most. And Spidey's charging up to him, and he sees Aunt May, Uncle Ben, MJ, J. Jonah Jameson, and he's like, "What do you see?" And then like I thought it'd be cool if it'd be like a giant spider, but it's like a giant rhino.
Rhino. I guess maybe Craven killed Rhino.
Oh, maybe
That could be
that'd be
a
a cool little reference.
possibility,
Yeah,
maybe?
some back
I don't
history stuff,
know.
yeah.
Hard
It's
to
kind
say.
and then he uses all of his web fluid to hold down Craven. I thought that was kind of cool. Like, he's out now. And it's like, okay, well, that sucks for you, dude. But we zoom over. Honestly, I love the design on the classic suit. I when they get the webbing just right on Spidey and the movements, like that classic suit looks so damn good all the time.
Yeah, except for the background. It looks very cropped. Like,
Oh
again,
God,
the-
yeah, you're right. Dude, that door, you're right. It looks very like Windows 98 kind of feel.
Windows 98. Well, I mean, if this was 2006, he was probably using XP. If he was
There you
using
go.
Windows.
Yeah, XP. There you go. Yeah. Again, I'm not crazy about any Venom designs. Like I'm really not. Even this I like the full page splash because it shows how massive he is. But like every panel after that, I'm just like not
It's like
down.
it's like this distorted image.
Yeah, like it isn't that great. And I mean, and this whole entire back scene is him just like flashing back to MJ, like trying to get his strength back because he knows he's like failing and he needs that like final push. He's getting beat up. He's out of web fluid. He's already gone through all these other villains and he needs to like hear her words to remind himself. And he kind of feels like this is it. Like he has a plan and he goes up to the very top of the tower leading all these symbiotes with him, and he's basically going to last there as long as he can. And it's like it's like the last level in Halo Reach where you're just like the last Spartan just trying to survive.
Oh, just holding out. But
Yeah,
it's
just
a failed
holding out.
mission.
Yeah, and that's what Spidey's doing right now, and he's just getting his ass kicked. And I love battle damage Spidey, where the mask is half off, and it's all
The
shredded
cloth
up.
is ripping.
Yep, it is just too good, and he's telling a joke this entire time, and he's like, "I'm basically ready to end all this," until Sandman comes out of nowhere and helps him out because Sandman's kind of redeemed himself because of after seeing his daughter and losing her, and the tower that's controlling the web over the city overloads. And it explodes, and it just destroyed everything. There's smoke everywhere. It's very, again, 9/11 in this whole smoke scene where everyone's lost and confused, and it's just like crazy. And then it kind of transitions to JJ being back on the TV, spreading news and hope. And there's a mysterious figure standing over Mary Jane Watson's grave, and he's just basically saying like, I'll see you one day, MJ. Until then, I have responsibilities. Which is a brilliant way to end it. Like,
that is a good way to end it.
That gave me chills, actually. Like, after reading that, like, just this one time. It's a very good book. It's a very good redemption story. It's a very good way to bring back some of these characters. It's not perfect. It's not the best, but it's worth the read. You know what I mean? That's for sure what it is. It's worth checking it out and looking into it and seeing what could have been. Dude, I love this cover where Venom's just biting off Spidey's head and there's just blood.
I know, right? Just like so his entire
brutal.
Top half of his body.
Yes, like it's so brutal, and it's just insane. That's just, I don't know how else to put it. It's just
it's an interesting book. I was gonna say I've come to realize you liked it more than he came off.
I did.
I wasn't expecting that. I feel kind of bad now because I do really like it, but I didn't like fall in love with it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say when he blows up to the tower, where did he get the detonator from? Was that Sandman?
Yeah, that was Sandman.
Okay, and then Sandman placed the charges.
Sandman takes it from Peter when he goes through him.
That's right. Yeah, because but did Peter lay the charges? That was the only thing I can remember.
Oh, I don't remember.
It doesn't say who, huh?
I'm assuming so, when he was like running through all the symbiotes and everything.
It seems like it. I'm trying to catch it, but there's little things like that where I'm like, there's little
inconsistencies for sure.
Yeah. It's kind of like that.
There's like those moments where it just doesn't add up or make sense, but like some of those key emotional moments like that happened. I think what it is, I love Peter's arc in this. I love like
he gets a redemption arc.
Mm-hmm. He gets
a redemption arc.
He lost MJ, like he's lost everyone in his life. He's scared. He's alone. He's like literally the Peter Parker we knew that he could have turned into, like little geeky Peter Parker without Spider-Man. This is what he would have turned into, just like a sad, alone dude, kind of just like with nowhere to go at the end of the road, you know?
Well, Peter Parker's always been like the not butt of jokes, but he's always like, you know, gotten the shit end of everything.
Exactly. And that's what just continues to happen in his life. But he continues to do the right thing, no matter how hard it is, no matter how difficult things are. He still pushes on. He still tries to do the best thing for everyone. And he doesn't think about himself. He doesn't think about anyone, but just like trying to just save the day. And it's a really great ending. And just like even trying to say bye and accept his death, he's like, no, I'm Spider-Man. I got to keep going. Yeah. They still need me. They still need my help because look what happened when I left. So the Doc Ock scene, dude, I love the Doc Ock scene. Like that's just so creepy and just so Doc Ock's final, like it even says in the book that the final mission he gave his arms was like once he passed away to go find Peter Parker or something. And it's just like, damn, that connection that they still had. I love like the idea of what Venom's trying to do, you know, like he's upset at Spidey being like, oh, you're sad, you're alone. You ripped me from my planet and brought me somewhere else. And I got used and abused for years and years and years. And I was taken from where I should have been. I don't have a home. And like it really I like the motivation behind it.
It makes sense, honestly. It's one of those things that you're like, oh, okay, it's the symbiote's salty.
Yeah, exactly. You know, he's hurt, he's upset. But I hate the design, man. You got to do Venom just right to make him cool.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, let me look up some Todd McFarlane Venom.
Oh, even the early Todd days, I'm not cool with, honestly.
Was Venom like always like a favorite villain of yours or nah?
In a nostalgic way. It wasn't until Donny Cates' run where I was just like, oh, Venom. You know what I mean? Like, but
I know, right?
You know, him and Carnage are like some of the coolest. Growing up on the 1994 Spider-Man cartoon and Spider-Man Unlimited, they were just cool characters, and the whole aspect of him. Of course, you look at Spawn, you look at Venom, and then you look at Kiss, and it's like, oh, no wonder I like all three of these things. You know, like that's all the fuck.
Now it makes sense. All right, I'm looking at Todd McFarlane Venom. It's not too bad.
Not too bad. I like the Mark Bagley Venom.
I did not know Eric Larson's Venom was that iconic cover where he's holding the skull.
Yeah, I'm not. Maybe it's the Sam Keith Venom. I'm not crazy about. It's some of them where like they just make his teeth too out and too all over the place and like scattered and all that type of stuff.
Oh, they're like broken and all different angles.
Just like his jaw is like it looks like the Violator from Spawn and not like.
Oh, it hella does, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But okay, maybe there really wasn't that many good Spider-Man or Venom designs in general.
No, like not at all. Like even Carnage has come a long way in the last few years. All the symbiotes have.
Yeah. Oh man, the Sam Keith one. Ouch.
Eesh, right?
Nothing against them.
Yeah. No, I love Sam Keith by all means, but no, I'm not down for that one.
But yeah, Spider-Man Reign. It's an interesting book. I was more into the story itself than the art. And I think for what it sets out to be, it sets out to be this. It's a combination of things, like I said at the beginning of the episode, where it's, a post 9/11 New York, I think it was 2006. So yeah, it was like 5 years after.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of, indications of that in there. And then the obvious Dark Knight Returns homage and just kind of like, I guess, format in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, the newscasters specifically, and the whole grizzled old character and all that. And then it's kind of like a epilogue to Spider-Man's mythos as well, in a way.
I say that for sure.
Yeah, so there's a lot going on there. But I think the craft in terms of the paneling, the pacing, the way negative space is used, the way silence is used, and the way that, inner monologuing is kind of like the center stage over dialogue in this. And I think that's much more like the craft really does shine. And I don't really know anything from Andrews, and I'd like to see more stuff, I guess, at this point. But
even the filmmaking and whatnot, like clearly he has an eye for storyboarding and paneling and pacing and whatnot,
he's
all the uses of flashbacks were perfect. Like they were the right reasons to do a flashback. They were in the right spots. They took up the right amount of time, a single page, double page. We weren't going too far back. We weren't showing the death of Uncle Ben over and over. And like there was new reasons and purpose behind it all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's a good book, and I'm honestly sad I didn't know about it until you told me. Well, I'm glad I read it, and I'm glad that we were able to do an episode on it, because I think there needs to be more Spider-Man stories out there that are not just Spider-Man Blue or Kraven's Last Hunt, or you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, can you even name any more off the top of your head?
I don't know. Honestly, there's like... It depends what kind of Spidey you're looking for, too. He's again, one of those characters that's evolved so much over the years that there are some key like issues and arcs, like in his early days, if you could tolerate that type of writing. But you're right, Spider-Man Blue, there's... I really can't think of too many like insane. I mean, it all involves symbiotes at that point.
Secret Wars, I guess. That's kind of a Spider-Man.
Like Secret Wars or Maximum Carnage. I guess Brand New Day, but I haven't really checked out some of that. There's a lot of Spidey that I want to get back into. And the Straczynski run was really good. His Civil War arc was really good.
Spider-Verse kind of influenced a whole lot in in the movie side of things, because that's pretty much what the movie came out of. So I mean, there are Spider arcs, but there's not too many people we're talking about. I mean, yeah, Hunted was cool when that came out.
That was a Return of Kraven at that point, too, right?
But that's just Kraven's Last Hunt again.
Yeah.
The Clone Conspiracy was interesting.
Okay, there's the Clone Conspiracy, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, compared to like, Batman, for instance.
Yeah, exactly. But also Clone Conspiracy stretched out for so long. Like I have an omnibus on it, and there's 2 omnibus volumes on it. And then they brought it back again. You know what I mean? Like Spidey does do a lot of rinse and repeat with his, I guess everyone does in that sense. With those bigger heroes for sure. But, it's hard to... Back in Black was cool. The Civil War arc was really cool when he got the new suit and having to make those decisions.
I mean, he was in Avengers versus X-Men. He had a small arc.
He did have a small arc in that one. I really, everything else. I'm trying to think of just like individual Spidey stuff. Like it's hard to name them because I think of them more in like big arcs, big stories. But individual just Spidey. We were gonna have to do some research, and Spidey's a great book. Like you'll have fun no matter what when you read them, and that's
it's always a solid book.
Yeah. Nick Spencer's one was great. Stravinsky's one of my favorites. I like a lot of the Dan Slott stuff from what I've read. Superior Spider-Man is amazing, dude. That's a super awesome turn of events where Doc Ock is dying and transfers his body into Spidey's, and then Spidey ends up being the one in the dying body.
Yeah, that was a pretty iconic one. I remember getting pissed off about that, and then it lasted for a long time.
Yeah, and that was dope. Like that was such a great idea.
It was actually a highly regarded run.
Mm-hmm. So it's just, we'll do. I've always wanted to dive more into the character himself. So maybe we could do we'll read a whole bunch of it and choose our favorites. It's like Daredevil. Well, Daredevil, you could solidify runs right off the Miller run. You know what I mean? Like that whole thing is insane. Zdarsky and not Kevin Smith. And what else?
Not Kevin Smith. Charles Soule, Mark Waid.
Yeah, there you go.
Brubaker.
Brubaker, yeah. But man, that's it. Spider-Man Reign. I think it's it's pretty much an essential Spidey read, I feel. Like if you've read enough Spidey and you want to see how much more it could push the envelope, I think this is a great book to go from. And if you're a fan of Miller's Dark Knight Returns and like seeing Miller homages and his impact on the industry, again, 4 issues, solid, simple, easy,
it's easy to get into, and it's also easy to dig deep into because, again, it's political in its own ways. It's also a book that, in one of those cases with comic books where it's reflecting reality. I mean, most do, right? Mm-hmm. But it's reflecting reality, and in a crazy way, it's kind of like showing the patterns of like humans and events and everything, and how it kind of like does that thing where it kind of almost reads like not the future, but shows like some things haven't changed and all that. And
how would people react if XYZ happened? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's kind of like a reaction to like what is doing too much to protect New York, or because the web, for instance, is kind of like it's like an extreme way of like no one in or out, right? And then there's more in there, but it's basically like a superhero take on all that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's what makes it just so rich and fulfilling, and just seeing what can happen to Peter if he was put in this situation. Like how would he turn out? This kind of questionable thing about if he was bit by a radioactive spider, well, how does that alter his body besides giving him these amazing abilities? Like what does that do to him? Like it was
the people around him.
Yeah, and there was always. I remember Aunt May, like in some arc, passed away due to being too close to like Spidey because he was emitting radiation for so many years and shit. Like there's something along those lines. I don't recall, but I'm pretty sure it fucking happened.
It's hard to say. A lot of the little things like that always like kind of like, like one-liners and certain panels and pages kind of get lost in the backlog of the brain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, pretty sure there is.
That is it for Spider-Man Reign. Glad we got to finally do a Spidey book. We'll have a lot more coming your way. This whole month of May is packed with stuff. A lot of creator talks this month. Super excited for all of those. Make sure to check out Sutro Side Talk, where I do a show called Sutro Side Watch, where we do monthly topics on movies. And during the month of May, we're doing George Lucas. So it's THX 1138 and American Graffiti. If you love the audio quality on this show, check out our sound engineer Frank's podcast of Uninformed Movie Reviews, and tell us about not D3 Media. Damn, I'm fucking far behind. Yeah, call back. Tell us about your little side jujus.
thirdplanet.news. That's the website that Danny mostly worked on, but I've helped contribute to as managing writer. Basically, we recently did, in light of Mortal Kombat's new movie coming out. Have you seen that yet?
Yeah, it was dope, dude.
Oh yeah,
It was way cooler than it should have been.
Yeah, the story was fucking stupid at times, but you know what? I thought it could have been more violent.
Oh yeah, me too. I think this was like testing the waters and what people could handle.
But I was expecting way more violence and like blood and guts and over the top violence. Like the games are pretty violent, and I thought I'd see more of that. But you know, it delivers for the most part. But in light of Mortal Kombat, we did a Mortal Kombat commentary, and we did a Mortal Kombat Annihilation commentary. On top of that, Dan and I sat down, had a few beers, and played some old Mortal Kombat games and Mortal Kombat 11, and kind of just did a Let's Play. So we got that video up. You can check out a small glimpse of it on YouTube, and you can catch the full video on thirdplanet.news. And on top of that, if you're always following me or anything or any of our little side projects, if you want to see my little weekly mini reviews of the comics I pull, that's always up there on thirdplanet.news. I'm always trying to help people get an idea what's going on with the comics I'm reading, and if they're interested, if they should pick it up or wait or not bother with it at all. So, you know, we kind of say we spend money so you don't have to. Any sort of, you know, check out the site or even a brief summary of like what I write, or if you read all the articles, it's all appreciated, and I hope you guys all check it out. I think that's it for my end.
And check us out. Check out our YouTube channel, Apollo City Comics, and subscribe. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your coworkers.
Let them all know. We're trying to tell them about comic books, and we want them to listen.
Yes. Well, Brandon, thanks for hanging.
Thanks for having me, Brandon.